All right, welcome back to the To Be Better podcast. We are the Chris's. We do question and answers, emails, and sometimes we simply talk shit. But first, a disclaimer.
We are not professionals.
No.
Everything that we speak on is opinions derived from experiences and outside knowledge we've gotten from other resources.
Mm-hmm.
If you get any value or something we said resonates with you, share this.
Yes, that's how we grow.
And if you're not subscribed, why not?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If you're not subscribed, you're going to miss out on this whole experience. That's the Chris's.
That is the Chris's.
Please leave a comment. Your comments are actually super dope to read. Knowing how that we've impacted you or your relationship, it just helps us continue to do what we're doing, and it shows that what we say works sometimes. And to submit a question or just to email us and say how we've helped or maybe constructive criticism, email us at tobebetterco@gmail.com.
The number 2.
The number 2. Emails will be read anonymously on this podcast, unless specified otherwise by the sender. So if you don't want us to put your story out there, tell us that.
Correct.
If you're going to send emails, please be as detailed as possible. If you give us a one-sided email about how your partner is the problem, that is all we will address.
Yeah, you will get a one-sided reply.
Yes. Nobody is perfect. Take accountability. Everybody can grow.
Whew, preach.
And we are giving unbiased, honest opinions. We are not yes men. So if you submit something to us, be prepared for an answer that you might not like getting. But we are going to give you a very honest, outside perspective.
Is that the full disclaimer?
Yeah.
Now to the episode.
Okay. Right. Is that a random sound you found?
Yeah,
or?
it's something that I pulled off of an Epidemic Sound.
Why does it slap like that? Oh my gosh.
That's what I use for a lot of the B-roll that I did with the tattoo shop videos.
I love that.
Yeah. So we are here on a Wednesday. We went out and shot this morning.
I had so much fun.
A good morning taking pictures. Bought a new camera.
Yeah.
Bought lav mics so that when you do your cooking videos, you can have your little lav mic instead of being wired to anything. Mm-hmm. Bought you a new tripod so that if we go shoot this weekend, we both have tripods, because I learned today at shooting 600 millimeters without a tripod is
hard.
Yeah. I missed so many shots today at that focal length.
Yeah.
But things are good. We are moving a lot of our content from YouTube to Patreon. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, because this is where most of our videos are currently going, we will be on Patreon soon.
And that is where almost all of my cooking videos are going to go.
Yeah, I figured we could do one cooking video on YouTube to show that you do it, and then all of the rest of them could be on Patreon.
Right.
I want to do, so we'll be doing live streams on Patreon exclusively for the VIP or the top tier things. And because there's not a lot of people on Patreon, it'll allow us to interact with people more personally. You know,
right.
I don't know if there's a chat function there or if we can just Zoom call a group of people.
Yeah.
I think a Zoom call would be way cooler.
That way we can actually interact.
Yeah,
I think we can invite people to a live call.
Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. So a lot of this is still in the works, but Patreon is up. I will put the link in the description. We have, this is insane to me to even say this. We have help.
We have someone helping us.
We have somebody now that's helping to moderate and edit and do things for YouTube.
Right, pull topics.
Unreal.
It's absolutely insane. I never thought we would get to this point.
I didn't think this was going to go anywhere. I thought this was going to be a hobby that we got to talk shit and maybe help a couple people in there, but like...
And this was somebody who just randomly reached out to us too. We weren't searching for somebody. And this person was like, I truly believe in what you guys are doing. I'll help any way I can. And I think that's super dope.
I had no intention of being like, yeah, man, come help.
Right. But you've had a lot of back and forth with this guy.
He did it.
Yeah.
He started doing the work. It wasn't like a, hey, let me help you. He was like, I would really like to intern or apprentice or whatever you want to call it to help get you guys going. And I was like, yeah, I'll talk to Chris about it, you know? And I figured it would be a conversation we could have. And then he started sending me clips from our YouTube channel. He was like, hey, this would be a great short. This would be a great short. Here's a timestamp. You need to do this, this, this. He started taking notes. Like, I didn't have to ask him. He just
initiative.
did it.
Yeah.
And that enough was alone for me. Like, if he lived in the state of Florida, we also did a tattoo apprenticeship a while ago. That was incomplete.
Yeah.
And after everything he did last night, I was like, bro, if you were in Florida, I'd give you a tattoo apprenticeship. Like,
right. That's drive. Like
that initiative, you can't buy that. Insane.
Absolutely wild.
So for those of you guys who want to actually join the Patreon, the link will be in the below. There are 3 tiers. I talked about this a little bit before. The first tier is a $5 monthly donation. The only thing you get from that is our gratitude. There's a $10 tier that's monthly that gives you exclusive content to everything except for the live feeds. And the third tier is $15 a month, which gives you the live streams.
Which we'll be doing 4 times a month.
Yeah. And we may start working into like stickers, or if you decide to do aprons, we'll be able to sell to those people first before it goes anywhere else. So wild, right?
That's absolutely crazy. Like, could you imagine if I actually get like a clothing line?
You could.
Oh my God.
It would be work, but you could do it.
I want a t-shirt that says, I don't know what it is, but eggnog just makes me feel something.
I know what it is. It's called rum. You know that there are a lot of people who got a following on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok that created a clothing line that are all multimillionaires from their clothing, like that Miss Carrie June that does the Mini Beast. Dana Lynn and Rob Bailey built their foundation based off of social media and in her career.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have done that.
So somebody specifically sent me this question on TikTok just now that just popped up. And they said, I couldn't tell yesterday what your throat tattoo was, but is it the skeleton version of your husband's hand?
It damn sure
It
is.
is, yeah. I love that people notice it.
That needs a touch up.
It does need a touch up. I want it darker in the background. I also feel like there's this little gap of just white skin. It's like I have a double chin. And now that I point it out, everybody's going to see it.
All right. So do we want to do some emails today? What are we doing? I know that we still have to do the podcast tomorrow, but we have like 3 hours to kill before the kids come home.
So there is one email that I found that I think would be a good topic to cover. But before we jump into that, there was something I told you this morning that I just want to kind of divulge into on this video that we're doing.
Do you want to do it now, or do you want to do a separate video of it?
I don't see why we couldn't do it now.
Okay.
Do you think it's smarter to do it in a different video?
I think that we could probably cover a lot of that because that's a good back and forth. I think that's a Patreon video.
Okay.
Let's Patreon video that after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys want to know what it is, go to the Patreon.
Oh, the tease.
It's a good one too. Like I spent a lot of time last night thinking about it, probably like 3 hours. So it's super in depth. Not going to get derailed. I've made notes.
We're going to start recording and be like,
right. Don't speak that into existence for me.
I'll try not to interrupt.
Okay. So we got a couple of really dope emails.
Okay.
You know, I'm not going to read any of them, but there was one that really stuck out to me and I want to gloat a little bit about it. So this mom reached out to us and she was explaining how the things that we've talked about has helped her realize, you know, even though I'm a single mom, when I walk into a public space, you listed off things you look for in case things go south, men that would help you.
Right.
She's now looking for things like that when she walks into buildings. She's looking for good old boys and, you know, Leos.
Law enforcement officers. Yeah. Veterans.
You say Leos and I just think of lions.
Yeah, I know.
So she's now doing that. She feels safer.
Yeah. Well, and it's good that you said good old boys first. And I know that some people aren't going to get that reference, but you know, you find a good Southern man, like a farm working Southern man, you're going to get more out of that man than you will anyone else because we're raised with manners and we're hardworking and we're not afraid. So
y'all know how to stand your ground. I love it. And later on in the email, she says that her daughter came to her. Her daughter's under the age of 14. I'm not going to say how old she is. But she was like, you know, I'm talking to this boy at school. And her first thought was, hell no.
Yeah.
You are my baby girl. You don't need no man. But instead she asked, what is it about him that you like? And she started listing off all of these things. He's opening doors for me. He's standing up for me. Like, I guess a rumor was being spread and he was like,
yeah,
we're not doing that. He's sharing his lunch with her. Like, this little man is doing man things that men in their 30s don't do. Good for her.
Yeah. Kids got good parents.
But in her saying that, she went on to say that because they had that discussion, she showed her a clip of our video that she deemed was PG enough.
Yeah. We're not that.
We are not that. But there was a little snippet where we talked about, you know, situational awareness and whatnot. And she was showing her daughter that. And I was like, we're affecting the youth now.
That's a scary thought.
That is a scary thought. But it's scary because we're putting information out there. And if it's something that is interpreted incorrectly or because it's a child, something we say might have a bad outcome for them, and then it's kind of on our shoulders, and that scares me a little bit. But we're also not unintelligent people. You know, we are actually putting out some pretty useful information. And when it comes to kids who are getting ready to, who have started puberty or getting ready to go through puberty, to me, that is a very, I want to say pertinent, but pertinent is not the correct word. It's a very important time.
Right.
And that's when emotions start to go and validation is needed and all that kind of things. So when we say things like, don't just pay attention to someone because they're giving you attention, I think that's important to know.
Right.
And, you know, parents, I'm not saying all parents are bad or all parents purposely forget things, but there are moments where I'm like, I have to remember these kids aren't just born knowing these things.
Right.
We have to teach them those things. So to know that we could be possibly putting information out there that a parent was like, damn, I never even thought to say that to them.
Right.
That's pretty dope. And her daughter said I was a vibe. So that made me feel good. It made me feel relevant. Validated everything I've ever been telling myself.
Entire day, didn't it?
It really did. And she also said I was beautiful, which touched my heart a little bit because, you know, outside validation is nice sometimes. But her saying that I was a vibe, it's very hard for kids nowadays to enjoy an adult. So the fact that this little girl was like, she's a vibe. Thank you.
Sorry, this is AJ about the shorts.
Okay. And we received a couple of other emails. So on the podcast, we've been talking about how hard it is for us sometimes and how there's times that we just want to walk away from it because the mental tax that we get from this sometimes isn't worth what we put out. Not that it's not worth. Sometimes we view that the negativity outweighs the positive.
Right. There are things that I'm not going to touch on. If there 9 times out of 10, if there's a dead child, I'm not touching on it. 9 times out of 10, if there's any type of grape,
right,
I'm not touching on that. There are things that I'm not willing to discuss because my answer to those situations is get out.
Right.
So
if there's like child abuse going on,
same thing.
Can't do it.
Right. I can't do anything when it comes to kids. Like I get overly emotional about that shit.
Oh yeah, I can't. I either get instantly infuriated or I start thinking of my kids could be in that situation. Right. And then I start to spiral and panic and all that shit. But because we've been saying how hard it is for us sometimes, we have been flooded with a bunch of positive emails.
Crazy.
Like people are going out of their way and saying, I understand this is hard for you. Don't stop though.
Yeah.
Because in all reality, the positive feedback that we're getting does outweigh the negative shit that we're receiving. And it's not even about the emails being negative pertaining to somebody else's life. We get a lot of hate.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of hate. So, I'm getting a phone call. I received a phone call. It was a very important phone call, so we had to pause it there for a moment, and I do not recall anything I said prior.
We were talking about we were affecting lives and the positivity outweighing the negativity and the hate we get and all of that. We don't have to continue with that. We can.
Yeah, I just thought it was super dope that people are going out of their way to give us the validation because they see how the negativity affects us. So I just think it's dope. People take 20 or 30 minutes to send us an email of a positive affirmation. So now going into this email, first thing that she wants to say is that I love your TikToks and the podcast. She is in a traditional marriage with her husband, and she absolutely loves it. And she loves seeing other families with the same values and the same setup. She divulges a little bit into her past. It's not really pertinent to her question. I do want to read, though, that there was a point in her life where she believed that all men would hurt her. And her mother validated that thought. Do not trust any man. All men are out to hurt you.
My mom told me when I was little, never trust a woman, and then she ratted me out to the cops shortly afterwards.
Crazy. So her question is, how do you deal with family that either don't understand or think that your marriage is abusive? No matter how many times you explain to them that being cared for doesn't always mean you are being hurt or taken advantage of. Yes, I stay home, clean and cook. Our children are all grown, but I still do a lot for them. You know, a mother's job doesn't stop just because they are young adults. My husband works and provides for me. Our goals are different now because we are planning on what our future or retirement will be. I'm at the point that I'm about to cut her and her husband out of her life, meaning her mom. I don't want to lose her, but it's becoming a constant issue. My husband told me that no matter what I chose, he will support me. I want to be his peace, not the cause of any pain. They are now a cause of pain. So, I get that. People thinking that because you have traditional values or he provides and you stay home and clean that you're being abused.
I mean, you hear it constantly.
All the time. I hear that I'm a slave, that you're manipulating me, that you're passive aggressive with me.
Yeah, people think that I want to keep you pregnant and barefoot. That people have actually used that terminology. I guess that's
Are
like
you serious?
Yeah, I guess that's a phrase. It's a buzzword or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be honest. There were a couple of people in my life who were so set against. They were women in my life who were like, you're going to be a traditional wife. You're not going to work. Your man's going to take care of you. You're not going to be in control of bills. What are you doing? You're submitting to a man who's just going to abuse his power over you. And no matter what I said, they just had this narrative, this fourth wave feminist bullshit. And I cut them out. I am not going to sit here and try and explain my life to you when all you want to hear is things that society has told you,
right,
versus what I'm actually living.
So let's break that down, because how many women do you know personally that have the marriage that we have?
None.
Okay. How common is it for a man to fully support his woman and allow her to have the life that you have?
Very rare.
Okay. So all of the hypotheticals and all the nonsense that people want to spew and believe are coming from opinions, because this is a very rare thing that we have. So the fact that we have this thing and we live the life that we live, people don't get to see inside of these lives, because we don't divulge our personal lives to outside circles.
Right.
If we have to have a problem that we can't resolve, we're going to church or we're going to a therapist. We're not doing this with people. So like, even if I royally pissed you off and you left and went to one of the businesses to hang out with your friends, or you went on boyfriend's night that night, I know for a fact that you're not going to go and start talking shit about me.
Yep.
That you're going to go and just be like, oh man, I've had such a tiring day, I'm exhausted or whatever. You'll make an excuse and then you're going to try to relax. Excuse me. And then the next day or that evening when you come home, we'll finish our discussions or whatever, and that'll be the end of it. But we don't put our life out there for other people because of the negativity biases that come in.
Right.
So
the judgments.
Right. So people already judge the lifestyle that we live unknowingly, because they don't get it. They have some idea of something that happened 100 years ago, the way that it was in 1920, not 2020.
Right.
So they have all these predetermined notions of what things are, and then they want to spew nonsense.
Right.
When in reality, most of the people that we know that live this life, not in person, but people that we know on the internet that have reached out to us, they all have phenomenal lives.
Right.
They work as a team. If one of them is tired, the other one will pick up the slack. They give 100% all the way across the board. This is the way it was meant to be.
Right. It's not a power struggle.
Right.
It's not you're better than me because you provide the money. I'm not better than you because I'm able to clean a house in 4 hours,
Right.
It really just boils down to people think that it's a constant power struggle.
There's no power struggle.
There's not. I have access to everything.
Even if you didn't, though, like, and in that aspect, that's more of like, that's a control thing. I would say that that's more control than power struggle. For me, power struggle would be like, I've been gone all day. You're exhausted with the kids. You need a break. And I come home and I play video games. Fuck you. I don't care that you need a break. That'd be a power struggle, because now I'm showing you that I'm more important than you are. Or I come home and I'm exhausted and you didn't have the kids today and you're like, okay, you're home, I'm leaving. And then you left.
Right.
And I'd be like, damn, well, there goes my evening with my woman. Like, I'm glad I'm working so fucking hard for nothing. Like, that would create a power struggle in the house. Because in that scenario, like, we're not doing for each other. We're only looking out for ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's how that power struggle is going to start to evolve. Whereas the control aspect, you having access to everything because you do. And it makes my life super fucking easy if I'm like, hey, go, I need you to take care of this. I can't right now. And you're like, okay, what card do I use? And I'm like, I don't know, pick one. Like,
yeah,
I can't look at the bank account right now. I need you to figure that out. Just don't use this one. There's no power struggle there. Neither one of us have ever, since we started dating, gone without anything.
Right.
There's been, I've told you no once. And it was a lavender plant that you wanted for the counter in the kitchen. And I was like, you have too much shit on the counter in the kitchen? No.
It wasn't even that. You just told me no.
Right. And I explained why, though. I did tell you, like, there's too much shit on the counter in the kitchen as it is. Like, I have my NutriBullet and all my supplements and pills and, all the spices. And our kitchen is big, but it's a fucking disaster.
I didn't even need the explanation, to be honest. You said no, and I said okay.
But there's a lavender plant out there. Not in the kitchen. It's outside.
Right, in the garden, yeah.
Right. So you still got your plant. You just didn't get it for the kitchen.
It was a fake one for the kitchen, too.
Yeah, it's just too much shit. I was looking specifically for I guess I can still look while you continue to read. I just don't want you to think I'm ignoring you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Knowing that background information of what you're doing does make me feel less ignored.
Right. Well, I was looking for this specifically because of that email. And it says, I probably shouldn't do that. I was going to read scripture on the podcast. I'm not going to. I will skip that.
Okay.
For those of you that want to know what I was going to read, first Genesis 1:26 through 27 and 2:18 through 24, because it talks about a man and a woman becoming one and leaving their family.
Right.
When you marry somebody, you're supposed to leave the family behind and create your own family. And when your kids create a family and they branch out and now they're the family,
Right.
you are the guest in their home. So these people need to realize that when you are married, if you are having issues with the monsters-in-law, it's your home.
Right.
If you're going to their home and they're creating problems, don't go over there anymore. I don't understand why so many people have issues with the in-laws. And
it's because there's not boundaries set, especially like family, but especially its mothers feel like they still have some type of domain over how their adult child runs their life. I was watching a video the other day. It was a traditional Chinese wedding. And after everything was done, they did their version of the vows or whatever. Her father was sitting in the chair and the bride was just sobbing. And I was like, I don't understand why she's so upset. And I was going through and reading the comments, and it was people saying, she's understanding that she's leaving her home.
Yeah.
Like her family is changing now. Her dad's not going to be part of her everyday life.
Right.
And the father understood that because in their culture, that's something that's socially just understood. When you leave the home, you're leaving your family behind. That doesn't mean you're never going to see them again. Right. They're just not going to be the constant in your life that can make decisions for you.
Right.
Were you going to say something?
No, I was taking a deep breath.
Okay. So I think moms specifically feel a sense of entitlement to be constantly involved in what's going on. Tell me the drama. Why is your husband upset with you? Why are you upset with your husband? That's not your place anymore.
Right. It's an American thing, though. It's not like that all over the world.
That's true.
And there's still, and I don't want to call them tribes because that would be a really wrong thing to say, but I almost did. There are still cultures that live from tribal life where you had a lot of people, great grandmothers all the way down to grandbabies, living under one roof. But there was still structure. If you were the mother and what you are saying goes with the baby, that goes. The grandmother's not going to override you because she thinks she knows better or has some sort of privilege.
Hierarchy bullshit.
It doesn't work that way. They have a respect, and it's about the children being raised properly and about their traditional values, the way that they see them, and the family values and things like that. We don't have that kind of culture in America because it's a melting pot, and everybody gets married from different cultures and brings their traditions in, and some get left out, and some are not acceptable. When you look at that post that I made about serving food, the way that we do our dinners, every single person that saw that's from Central America or South America, we're all like, this is normal. This is a thing for you Americans. You don't have your plate served. This is our culture. This is the way it's supposed to be.
I've had people, a lot of Hispanic women coming onto my post saying, this isn't normal for you guys.
Right.
And I'm like, no, it's not, especially in our society in America, because women don't want to be seen as mommy.
Right.
And that's not what it is.
Not at all.
It's a respect thing. It's a act of service. That's a love language to show your man, even if you are both working, I appreciate what you do for us.
Right. I'd also like to point out that it's very big in the South, and it has been for a very long time. I remember when I was a kid being told men aren't allowed in the kitchen. Like I remember being in the kitchen and like looking for something or wanting a snack and being told men aren't allowed in the kitchen, get out of my kitchen.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing.
I'm starting to say that to kids.
I have heard you say that.
Yeah.
But that is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
When people are in the way, it creates, traffic in the kitchen.
You're in my work environment.
Right. So I don't know.
So when it comes to how do you deal with family that either don't understand or think your marriage is abusive, you can speak until you're blue in the face. If they have their own opinion and their opinion is unwavering and they don't want to hear anything that opposes their opinion, you can't change their mind.
Right.
So at this point, you have to sit down and reflect, is there a way you can articulate yourself to where they understand that you are truly happy in your marriage? Or is this just going to be a repetitive cycle for the next 5 years? Is this what your relationship is going to be for the next 5 years? Yeah. I would not put up with that.
I wouldn't either. I would be like, look, I'm happy.
Right.
In the event that I wasn't happy, I would ask you for help.
Yeah.
And if I am being abused or mistreated in any way, shape, or form, I'll ask you for help. And in the event that I don't ask you for help, I need you to shut the fuck up.
Right.
Mind your business. Like, my marriage is happy. I don't need you in here saying anything that's going to skew my opinion of my partner. And that's what's going to happen. When you constantly hear your partner's going to abuse you, they're going to manipulate you, they're going to control you, they just want you barefoot and pregnant, and that you hear that over and over and over and over and over again,
it's going to create a negativity bias.
It's going to start getting your wheels spinning, and it's going to change the way that you view the situation. It's going to change the way that you view your marriage. And if you're happy, why would you allow that to happen?
Right.
I have zero tolerance for anybody that's bringing any type of bullshit into my life.
It's not worth it.
No, not at all. Especially if you're happy. You know how rare it is for people to be happy in their marriage?
Very rare. We see it
constantly.
I would say 95% of my comments is, I am unhappy in my marriage, but I can't leave.
Yeah, I'm afraid to leave.
Right. You know,
I can't afford it.
When it comes to family, there are so many things you can talk about that's not on the topic of your marriage.
I have some things to talk about with some family.
What?
Can I do that now, or you want me to wait?
Oh, well, what are you going to go off?
So talk about my mom and JJ and Brandon and his new girl and the way things are going and how their lives are better because they listen to our podcast and it makes them feel really good.
Oh, I love that. That's not where I was going with that, but I love that.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, it's like when I call my mom, we talk about the kids.
Yeah.
We talk about me going back into tattooing and apprenticing. We talk about, when are we going to see you next? She has a vacation planned that she bought in 2020, but then COVID hit.
Right.
Everything shut down, so they kind of gave her a voucher. When are we going to be able to do this? We talk about what's going on health-wise with her. Very rarely do we talk about what's going on in the marriage, because why would you want to have a negative conversation? And, my mom understands that I'm living my life. I call her every time I'm in the car. We have conversations. We FaceTime with the kids. But we're not seeing each other every day. We're 500 miles apart at this point. So we both know when we have a 20 or 30-minute conversation, why would you want that conversation to be negative based on assumptions that you hear outside? Like, that's not a relationship. At that point, you're just trying to break something.
Right. Or lecture someone to feel superior. You should tell Siri to give you a reminder to get your passport, because I've been looking at vacations to Iceland. I would really like to go take pictures on black sand beaches. And we've talked about it twice, but I would really like you to get that squared away.
Okay.
Because I can't buy tickets to go out of the country unless I know for a fact you have your passport, because if that comes to pass and you don't, we're stuck.
Okay, so Friday I'm going to go get my photo taken. And then I think it takes like 6 weeks for me to get my passport.
Okay.
And then from there I have to do the TSA pre-check.
Right.
Hey Siri, set a reminder for 8 a.m. on Friday to get my passport photo.
I know that was very random, but the thought was there, and I've thought about it several times, and you're never there when I think about it. So killing two birds with one stone, podcasting and setting reminders.
Palpitations now. Are we?
Why?
Because we're going to travel and take photos. That's what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. I found a hotel that's relevant. Let's podcast.
Yep. So final thought on this email. Lay a boundary. I can't recall specifically if she said it was her mom who has an issue. Yeah, it's the mom. The mom has a problem. So set a boundary. Say either we're going to have a good relationship and you can accept that this is my life. You're not going to do anything to change how my life is. So we can have conversations about things going on outside of my marriage, to things I'm excited about in life. I don't know if they have kids, but talking about what the kids are getting ready to be doing. Right. There are so many other topics to talk about rather than her harping on your marriage. And if she says no, I would cut it.
I would too.
Block everything.
I would start that conversation with, because you said that she's a parent, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, the kids are gone. Her kids are grown.
Okay. But she's a parent.
Yeah, she's a parent.
With a mom who's, okay. So I would start that conversation with, as a parent, my kids' happiness is a priority. Mm-hmm. I want to know that they're happy. So if my kids are happy, I'm not going to do anything to destroy that happiness. Right. Because in doing so, that makes you a piece of shit parent. Mm-hmm. You should want your kids to thrive and be happy. You don't like to have to, you don't have to like who they're with. Mm-hmm. You don't have to like their occupation. If they are financially stable and thriving in life and they're truly happy, All of that other shit doesn't matter. Their happiness matters, and that's what you should be focusing on.
Right. If I were her, because prior into the email, I skipped over a bunch of stuff because it wasn't really pertinent. But she was talking about how she's never seen a stable relationship in her childhood. So her mom had a string of bad relationships.
Right. I would bring that up too.
I would too. I'd be like, wouldn't you be happy for me?
Yeah.
After everything that I've seen you go through and everything you experienced, wouldn't you be happy that I found one good man who treats me right?
Be like, I'm not going to take relationship advice from you.
I'm going to take it from the people on the internet who know what they're talking about.
Tell me that you're alone with 50 cats at 70 years old and try to tell me shit about my marriage.
That's not worth it to me. Oh my God. So you said that we would cover this in the video. And she goes, please tell your wife that she is awesome. Thank you.
I don't, I know that there's a lot of very civil ways to have that conversation. And I think that it's important that that conversation is had from a point of civility, especially if you're trying to save the relationship with your mother. But the boundaries need to be set, and you need to give it to her in a way that she's going to be able to understand and respect it. And I really feel like you're my mom. I'm your kid. You want me to be happy. That should be your number one priority in life, right? And when she says yes, cool, I'm happy. My marriage, my husband makes me happy. The life that I'm living is incredible. I don't want you to shit on that anymore, because in doing so, you are making me unhappy.
Right.
In the event that I need help, or I'm stuck, or you are right and I am wrong, I will gladly tell you, and then you can help me out if I ask for help.
Right.
Until then, let me be happy. And I think that's the point that it needs to come from.
I agree. You know, my mom and I have had a lot of conversations because my mom is ecstatic about our relationship.
Yeah.
She loves to see the way that we look at each other, the way we speak to each other, and how we're able to communicate and not have arguments and all of that shit. I don't know how I landed you, but I'm glad I did. But every time we call, she will ask, you know, how are you and Chris doing? How's Chris? And it's always positive things. And she just goes, I love that.
Yeah.
Like, she knew everything that happened in my childhood and the things that I saw. She knows all of it. And she's even made it a point to say, after everything that I've been through, I love knowing you're with a good man.
Right.
That's how it should be.
That is exactly how it should be.
I'm going to get emotional. My mom's so supportive. I love it. But like, it breaks my heart reading that email, because your mom is supposed to be like your number one cheerleader.
Right. Supposed to be.
Right. It just sucks. I hope her mom comes around.
I hope so too. You know, you want to talk on a touch up.
A touch up. Okay.
A follow up.
To what?
The monster-in-law email that we got. That I'm not going to say her name, but the chick that we've been going back and forth with on Instagram.
Oh. So, if you guys don't know, it was episode 4 of the podcast.
Okay.
Where we covered that whole email.
That was the only email that episode. And it was 2 hours.
Yes. There was a lot to unpack there. A lot going on. And we finished that podcast. I messaged her immediately and I said, you guys are probably going to be offended by what we said.
Oh, yeah.
I was thoroughly convinced that I was going to log on to Instagram the following morning. She was going to block us on everything.
Yeah. After sending a really nasty message, let us read it and then block us. That's what I was expecting.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I was genuinely concerned, because it is never my intention. We do say some harsh things.
Yeah.
But we say it from a point of, like, that's reality.
Right.
Like, this is tough love shit. And knowing that it's going to hurt people's feelings, it sucks.
Right.
But sometimes that's what people need to hear. And
well, you got to think too, we're giving people a point of view that other people aren't going to give them, because when somebody loves you, they're going to sugarcoat everything.
Right. They're not willing to go out and
I'm
say
not sugarcoating shit. If I think you're fucking up, I'm going to tell you.
Right. So we posted the podcast, didn't hear from her for 3 days. I was like, okay, now she hates me. And, you know, this is somebody I've been going back and forth with. You know, I feel like I'm building something with this person. Yeah. And after 3 or 4 days, I was like, yep, that's it. She's gone. But then she messaged us and she was like, you know, we've done a lot of conversing back and forth and we discussed the things that you guys talked about. And she was like, my husband had a 4-hour-long conversation with his mother. She said, I don't know the details of that conversation, but after their conversation, his mom sent me a very long, heartfelt apology text message. Saying that gave me goosebumps. Like, you called that man a coward.
Yeah. After I watched the podcast a second time, I almost cut that clip out.
Yeah.
Like I found it and I was like, I really don't know if I should do this because I know that if somebody called me a coward, I don't know if I would be able to like separate my anger enough to
hear it.
Why is that a thing?
Right. That shit stings.
Because that's like, I don't know. That's a big insult to me. So for me, like that would be a huge slap in the face.
Yeah.
And maybe that slap in the face was enough for him to be like, damn, I'm putting somebody in front of my wife, or maybe I do need whatever it was. If that's what did it, then great. I do regret using such a harsh definitive.
Right. It's just, and I can understand that. It's the scenario that's happening when it's repetitive behavior. It's infuriating.
I was mad when I said that shit because I'm listening to this email and I'm listening to all this amazing things that this woman is doing, and now she's getting shit on by a monster-in-law, and like,
yeah,
I don't know. We get a lot of cool emails that people tell us that their life is changing and the advice that we're giving them is helping, and we're providing them tools to better communicate and all of these things. But it's different when we've become personally invested. Right. Because of the amount of time that you've been going back and forth with her. It's not just an email.
Right.
You've been talking to her for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So, and we know their names. So it's not like just a random email.
We know how many children they have and how many kids, like how old the kids are, all of that. Like, I do feel invested in this person now.
Yeah. All I'm saying is if we don't get some fucking Christmas cards from you, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Could you imagine having a mantle full of Christmas cards of people that we've helped?
I plan on setting up that P.O. box. If you're going to go out Sunday or Friday and do your passport stuff, I may shoot over to the post office and set up a P.O. box.
I love that idea.
Because we have been asked. People want to mail us shit. And like, I'm not giving you my mailing address.
Right.
Just no. But a P.O. box would be a different story. So do we want to call this one and move on to the next one?
We could.
All right. So
the last thing I want to say before we do that, we did a pretty harsh podcast, and the things that we said were pretty harsh.
They were.
And the fact that they could separate their anger or frustration or whatever that they felt towards us and be like, okay, why are they saying that?
Right.
Like they probably just fixed something that's going to save their marriage.
Yeah. Well, save their relationship because they're getting married.
You're right.
They're not
married
yet.
Yeah. They're engaged.
But that dude doing that, like that 4-hour conversation with his mom and separating that part of his life to the one, I feel like they're going into their marriage in a very good place compared to where they would have been had that conversation not been had, because this woman had been overstepping every single boundary they've put in place, and he just checked that shit.
Yeah. Like, good for him. That's huge. He could have just been like, fuck that guy. Fuck what he said about me. I'm going to live my life the way that I want to.
Right.
But he didn't. He heard what you said. I'm sure it stung, but he took a course of action to he just changed everything in their future with that phone call. Was it a hard conversation? I imagine.
I'm sure it was a hard conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure that was not easy for him to do, and I'm sure he had to like mentally prepare himself for that.
I would have. It would have taken me days to make that phone call.
Right. The fact that he did that, shows her. I'm taking my role as your soon-to-be husband very serious.
Yep. Dude's in it to win it.
I love that for them. They're doing all of it. Like, now they have their kids in on the report cards, and the kids feel like there's a safe way for them to express their feelings without getting angry or that they're going to get in trouble. That's dope to me.
Yep. She also said that she took their paperwork, the check-ins that we provided, and made ones for the kids and took it to their therapist, and the therapist made photocopies of it and is giving it to other people to help them.
Yep.
What?
Right?
You should send your therapist a bill. All right. You got anything else on this one?
No,
Are we done? All right. I want to do the Patreon video today. I want to do the intro for YouTube. We have a lot to do, and we've got like 2.5 hours left to do it also.
Okay.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.